Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final summer episode of Tuesday Night Live. I have some awesome students that I'll let them introduce themselves, but we're talking all about the upcoming fall and how to kind of survive first year of college. Just to get it out of the way, before I forget, I am Casey. I am the campus minister for UCA, Hendrix, UACCM, CBC, and pretty much any kind of young adult in the general area. And since we're talking about college, I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond, Virginia. And I will hand it over to everybody else.
I'll go. I am Grace Ridgway. I am a senior at UCA this year, which is crazy. And I am an elementary education major.
Hi, I'm Savannah. I'm also a senior at UCA. I'm graduating in December, and I am a creative writing major.
And I'm Hunter Trussell. I'm a rising senior at Hendrix, and I'm a biochemistry and Spanish double major.
Cool.
Nice. All seniors. That was totally happenstance. So I guess a good way to start is to maybe kind of talk about, to look back on kind of when we were starting college and maybe some of those worries or those things we were looking forward to about kind of the fall semester and starting college.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I was so scared about what my roommate would be like. You know, I feel like that's a big fear of like most freshmen. If you aren't going in with somebody, you're like, okay, I've got to live with this person for the first time. I'm living on my own, and I've got this random person that I'm going to be living with. And I happen to luck out so much. Like my roommate she's one of my best friends now, and it was just the best situation I could have hoped for. But that was definitely a huge fear going in, and I was really worried that they didn't have like all these surveys that you take so you can find just the perfect person. It was just luck of the draw.
Yeah, some of those questions are quite strange for a roommate, which is crazy. But lucky for me, I went in with people I knew, which is like what they say. They say, don't room with your best friend, which is what I did anyways, which actually we're not as close today, so odd circumstances. But I mean, I had someone I knew, which was nice. But my main worry, I think, was just about, because I went to a private school where we wore uniforms all the time. And so I had no idea like what to wear out and about anywhere. And like to class, I was like, what is okay? And so I had to like buy clothes that summer to wear in public. So that was my biggest worry, which now I have a wardrobe full of different things. So I'm great.
My biggest worry was just going to college at all without knowing anybody there, because I was the only person from my school in my class that went to Hendrix. So I was going in without knowing anybody, and I am like 100% introverted, and making friends is not something I do easily at all. And just the entire summer, I was so stressed about. I just knew I was going to have a miserable time because I wasn't going to make any friends, and it was going to be a horrible experience. But luckily, Hendrix does orientation trips, and you spend a weekend at some locale in Arkansas with a group of other incoming freshmen. And I met my best friend there now. So,
So CCMers know I don't have a typical college experience. It took me 2 tries to get through college. The first time I went, I think I was just overwhelmed with everything. Because there were so many options and I had to make a huge decision on what I wanted to major in order to get any sort of scholarships or grants or whatever. You had to declare a major. And I had no clue what I wanted to do. And then when I returned to college a little later in my 20s, it was more of how am I going to balance this with work and family and everything, all my other commitments, which I think incoming freshmen also struggle with. I know a lot of people struggle with, do I go home and see my family every weekend, or do I stay and like get to know people? I have to work. How do I balance? And so I think the fear of like getting something out of balance and getting something wrong was my biggest kind of worry. And I realized very quickly that no one knows what they're doing and everyone's going to do something incorrectly. But, you know, you're learning and you're figuring it out, and what works for one person may not work for your path. So, and we all do really stupid things our first year.
I forgot how much I was struggling with my major when I was a freshman. Like, I had no clue. I think I was still wanting to be like an architect or an English major or a teacher. So definitely has changed a lot since then. But
one of the more silly things that happened my first year, when I transferred into VCU as a transfer student, as an older 20-something, we had our orientation day a little later in the summer. So it was like mid to end of July in Richmond, Virginia, which is like next to Charlotte, where I grew up, the second muggiest place on the face of the planet. And the school is 36,000 people, and it's spread across downtown Richmond. So you might walk 4 blocks between classes. In July, in the summer, I was not a happy camper. And I had to take my ID picture at the end of my orientation. The panel knows this. I shared this story earlier. I tried to find my ID. I couldn't find it. And the second I sat down, the camera broke. So they wouldn't let me leave because then I couldn't sign up for my classes if I didn't have my ID. So I was like, so I just sat there. And it's probably 10 minutes, and I'm just kind of staring off into space because I didn't know anybody. I was just like, and the next thing I hear, "You're good." And I was like, wait, what? So the picture is me like half sweaty, half like cooling down from being outside. My hair is like huge from the humidity. It was very short at the time. I'm literally like, and I don't know if they do this here, but one of the ways professors know who's in their classes is they get a copy, a little picture of what their ID picture is with their information. And so every class I attended, the 4.5 years I went to VCU, when they called roll, they would see that picture and they'd see me in the classroom. And I still have it. It's somewhere in my apartment. And I have friends. I became friends with some of my professors, and I was a TA, and they still rag me about that picture. So embarrassing. I should have probably paid the $15 to get a new one. But again, I was a broke college student, so I was like, it is what it is.
You should just own it and start using that pose for like your driver's license.
I literally have a shoebox of pictures of me growing up of just it's just what happens. My siblings like make fun of me even now. I go visit and I'm watching TV and I'm just like, it's just the face I make. So what slightly embarrassing but ultimately funny things did you guys do early in your college careers?
I tried to join the intramural softball team, and I never played softball in my life.
Oh my.
It was interesting. I think the first practice we had, I swung and missed way too often. But it was a fun time. It just, I was not good.
I have like a interior embarrassment story of mine that my very first class freshman year, it was like an art appreciation class, I think. And I guess I didn't realize at the time that like adults could be in college, like older people, like 50-year-olds could be in college. And so I got to class really early, and there was this lady like maybe 50 years old that was there, and I thought she was the professor. And so I was like, hi, good morning, like trying to like buddy up to the professor. And then another lady comes in later and she's like, good morning, class. And I was like, oh, my bad. I was like, I just met a new friend, so I guess that's fine too. But I was like, oh, lesson learned from that.
That's awesome that you talked to the non-traditional student in the class.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she was a very nice lady. So, yeah.
I remember it was one of my very first Spanish classes I'd had. I'd had a little bit of Spanish in high school, but I really didn't go in to college with much Spanish speaking ability. But I'm never gonna forget this because it was so mortifying. But my Spanish teacher, he's like super excitable. He gets really passionate about teaching Spanish, and he asked us in Spanish, like, how old are you? And I very confidently heard him ask, what year is it? So I told him I was 2017 years old. And everybody in the class laughed at me because apparently they all heard the question correctly. And I just very confidently told him I was over 2,000 years old. But
I probably have more,
yeah,
but I also want you guys to respect me. Yeah, there's some incidents with lab in chemistry lab that were kind of ridiculous. And why you should always make sure lids are on things when you're moving giant containers of stuff. Yeah, so lots. I fell crossing the street. So right through the center of campus is Main Street. It's literally 4 lanes one way. And it's constantly full of people. And it separates kind of like almost like the gen ed part from like the hard science part. So like you take your general bio class on this side of Main Street, and when you get to like biochem and organic chemistry and kind of the more advanced stuff, you have to cross the street. And then there's like biomedical research and engineering and all that stuff on that side. And I was in my hospital scrubs because I'd come straight from work, and I had Danskos on, which if you guys don't know, they're the big cloggy nursing shoes. I just happened, I guess I didn't hit the asphalt. I hit that little like slight rain gutter, and my foot rolled off the Dansko, and down I went, and was like literally with my legs like in a V, sitting straight up in the middle of Main Street, and students walking past like, oh my God, did you see that lady fall? And like I was like, oh my God, this is so mortifying. And like my shoe had fallen off because Danskos don't have a back and slid right off. So for a couple of weeks I was like, oh, right, see that girl who fell? Yeah, I fell down. It happens. So hopefully that is a little encouraging that like you'll survive all the embarrassing things we do our first year of college. So what were some of the things that you guys were looking forward to the most when you came to college?
For me, it was definitely not having such a structured schedule. Like it wasn't go to class all day, back to back to back to back. And also being able to take the classes that I was passionate about, because I was pretty set through high school that I wanted to pursue a career in medicine, but there weren't like a whole lot of science classes offered at my school. So to have the opportunity to really focus on what I was interested in, and even for like some of the gen ed or liberal arts requirements, it wasn't like you have to take this specific class. I could choose from some, and whichever one appealed to me the most was the one I could take. So the options, I guess, was what was most appealing about college to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, it was like the independent living. Like, my parents aren't super strict and all that, but I still was excited to see what I would do living on my own. Like, if I would still be the same person that like I was back home, or if I'd be like completely different.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying a lot more fast food than I do at home. So I don't know if that was necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get away from that cat food eventually, because I was tired of that stuff too. But I guess more like the independent living for me too, Savannah. But it was like the realization into college that like I don't have to tell my parents where I am anymore. Like at home, I had to text my mom anytime I was going anywhere. And so when I went to college, I did for a while. I was like, I'm heading to the cafeteria, and I get there like I am here, and I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. And so now it's like a phone call a week to mom, and I give her the laydown of everything I've done. But yeah, so the freedom that I didn't expect I would feel as much as I did was exciting.
Yeah, I think there was one night that it was like 11 o'clock or something, and I was like, you know what? I want Andy's. And I took my car and drove across the street to Andy's just because I could, and it was late at night, and I wanted ice cream.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
I think for me, it was being able to, like Hunter said, take the classes that were interesting to me. And while like going into college, I was very much like grades are important because that's how I pay for school. But it was, I wanted a challenge. And I think I shared, early in our live stream thing that I went to a math and science school. And so if I wasn't having to struggle and actually put forth effort, then to me, that class wasn't worth it. And so while I may not have had the greatest GPA, I still had a really high GPA, but I didn't have like perfect GPA. I made a point in taking classes that would challenge me because I knew that, some of my professors, it was a once in a lifetime chance to be taught by people of that caliber or from that background. Even in graduate school, I opted to take some of the harder courses, and I ended up having a professor from Berkeley who was visiting that happened to choose that class. And it was one of the harder classes I had in graduate school, but it was worth it. And so that was something I was looking forward to. The other part was just kind of having that experience because I worked for a while between my stints of college. And so being back around people kind of my own age, all kind of pursuing the same thing is a unique thing. The days where like after class, we'd go sit in the Thai restaurant on the corner from the biomedical engineering building that literally had 4 tables, and we would close it down after being in class all day together. It was super fun. And the hilarity that happened at the CCM house at all hours of the day and night because they gave us keys. And it was in the center of campus. And so I was excited to have those experiences. So speaking of CCM, like what I did there, what was your a snapshot of kind of your faith coming in to college, and like how did you see your faith kind of factoring into your college life as you were entering college?
I really didn't have that strong of a connection to my faith before college. But like I knew that I wanted to, and I wanted something, like I wanted a community of people who were strong with their faith. So that's one of the reasons that I was looking for CCM, was that I just wanted other people that were Catholic, because I really didn't know many Catholics before college. And I remember at our first retreat at Connect when I was a freshman, we were assigned like to go and read the Bible, like read the Bible for like 15 minutes or something like that.
Mhm.
And I sat there and I was like, okay, I've never owned a Bible before in my life. And now I'm sitting here with one. What do I do? And I just opened it up and like I went to one of the Gospels and I just started reading it like it was a book. Like I think we were given a passage to look at and to like analyze or think about or something. And I read it and I was like, great. So that was 5 minutes. And then I kept reading the passage and I kept going and kept going. I was like, okay, has it been 15 minutes yet? And then after that, like we had conversation and I realized like that, you know, there's a lot more that I can get from this than what I'm actually getting just by looking at it, just by like reading through it like a book. And eventually, you know, by the end of the year, I was in the position where the following year I was a small group leader. And that came just from like getting involved and saying like, you know what, I want to learn this. I want to work on this. So I joined small groups and I went to retreats. And I think just that personal choice of like, I want to do this for myself got me to the point where I could be a small group leader, even if I didn't feel like I was, you know, the most religious person on earth or that I had all the answers that anyone could ask me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you said about the personal choice to want to do it, because I went to Catholic school since second grade. And so, I mean, for 5 days a week for 10 years or whatever, it was Catholic school and I was surrounded by other Catholics. But I never, it's something I had started to take for granted and wasn't something I actively pursued because it was like, that was my life for, you know, every day. And it wasn't until the summer after my senior year that I went to Steubenville for the first time and actually saw like a large group of young Catholics, like all craving for something more than what they were getting already. And it just like opened my eyes to my faith, that it wasn't just the same old boring religion class every single day, that there was so much more to my faith that I hadn't realized before. And I was eager to make like very personal connections with other people my age, because like there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity at Steubenville because it's just a weekend. So I was excited to meet people in college that I could really form that close faith bond with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Similar to you, Hunter, I went to Catholic school from like kindergarten and up till the end of high school. And so I think falling into that routine, especially with mass and everything, it just became like, this was just my life pretty much. And then in high school, my mom is the youth director for our parish, assistant youth director. And so I was very involved in our youth ministry program in high school and everything. And I think I just assumed that I would like jump in and get involved at CCM in college. But I think realizing I didn't have those same people that were like my community in youth ministry in high school, because we all went to different schools and stuff. And I am much more of like a introverted, not wanting to talk to people type of thing and do stuff on my own. And so I think I thought freshman year that I could do it by myself and like keep my faith life on my own. And I'll go to mass and I'll go to adoration and all this stuff by myself. But in like the middle of sophomore year, I started to realize I needed something a whole lot more and I needed other people that could push me in my faith. And so that's whenever I jumped into the spring retreat sophomore year. I was like, I'm just going to go because I need something. And so I went there, and that kind of gave me the boost, I think, to keep talking to people there and then meeting other people, and then realizing that that's what I really needed, was the community of people that want to share their faith and not just because they have to because they're learning it in school.
Yeah. What have been some of your favorite moments at CCM?
Mm-hmm.
whether it's spiritual or community or silly or whatever. It could be anything.
Mine's kind of both spiritual and community. So we had Father Jeff come to the house every Monday last year, and I thought that was just like the best opportunity ever, because I really had never had direct conversation with a priest besides like confession before. So I'd go on Mondays and we just sit like between classes. I would pop in the house and we just sit and talk about like whatever, whether it was, random things that we saw in the news or, life on campus or a random question that I had thought about like the religion. I think one time we had a conversation about like why women have their roles in the church and men have their roles in the church. And like it ranged so far on what topics we covered. And that was one of the best experiences, just having really deep, random conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that with quite a few people, not just Father Jeff, but Father Jeff was, a priest. So it was something that I'd never like experienced before.
Yeah. I think there was one day I happened to be there on a Monday because that's usually my day off. I ran in to do something, and him and Aubrey and I think Malachi were like trying to figure out how to like crowdsource everyone a salary of like $30,000, the three of them, and like they went on and on and on the entire time I was there. And I was like, from my office, is like, that's not possible. And so definitely can speak to the random conversations that happen when anyone's there, because Lord knows the weird conversations that happen in my office. But yeah, and we have our new priest, or one of our new priests, to CCM will pick a day and is planning on coming and hanging out with us. So you guys listening will be able to experience that as well. So what about the other two? Any cool experiences?
Go ahead, Hunter.
Okay, sorry. Mine would definitely be the mission trips I've been on. I just had such a blast on those mission trips, and I didn't think I would enjoy them as much as I did until I got there and really got into the mindset of being on a mission trip. It's not something I'd ever done before. And just the community we built amongst each other, staying up way past lights out playing Uno and annoying Casey to death because we
Y'all, they were vibrating the wall that Ben was against, shouting at each other.
You went to bed too early, Casey.
When do I ever go to bed too early?
But moments like those were just so they're so much fun to look back on and reminisce about. And those mission trips were particularly impactful because they weren't just our CCM there. It was CCMers across Arkansas. So I really got to know not just the fellow Conway CCMers that went, but other ones across the state. So that was particularly cool as well.
Yeah, one of mine, I think my first real hit of CCM community was with the intramurals team we had this past year, especially our women's flag football team went to the championship. We lost, but we made it to the championship. And it was just so fun to see. Like, we all pray together before, and we're all these nice young Catholic gals. And then whenever we got the ball in our hands, it was like beast mode. And we were like out there to kill each other, but in a nice way, of course. And it was just so much fun to be able to, like, I like doing like activities and then incorporating your faith into those activities. And so it made it a lot easier, I think, to talk to each other and then just hang out with each other. And another memory I just had in my head, at the women's retreat this past year, there is this like sunrise point you can go to early in the morning. And I'm a morning person, so I was like, sunrise, let's go, ladies. And so there was like, I think 5 or 6 of us that went down there. And I had no idea, it was my first time there, how far it would be to get to this place. And so we're like walking because we're all like half asleep anyways. And then like the sun is coming up and we were like, oh, we need to go. So then like 5 of us start like sprinting down this trail to get down there. And we're all so winded. And then we're like on the edge of a cliff and we're like, okay, just breathe for a minute. And then we just sat and took in the sunrise. And then I think it turned into, we reenacted a scene from The Lion King, I think, down there with a blanket, like not Mufasa, Simba's the one. Yes. And so just fun times like that. Whenever the Goofy comes out, it's really fun.
Yeah, that's something that we can do this semester too, is go to what's that mountain near us and do like a hike.
There's a couple.
And there's Pinnacle down in Little Rock. Yeah.
But we could go out there and do like a sunrise hike someday.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have fun with that.
Yeah. I love hiking, but not that early in the morning. Sorry.
Sunset hike, opposite time of the day.
Yeah.
Can you tell which ones are night people and which ones are morning people? So kind of, I guess, shifting gears, looking forward, because we've kind of been reminiscing about our first year and kind of being in college. One of our alumni has a really great question. My mouse went to sleep. I'm sorry. Bernard Smith, quick shout out, asked, what advice would you give students who are looking to grow in their faith, especially as we move into a year that may be more virtual than expected?
Mm-hmm. I think it's really about personal initiative because, you know, we're going to have opportunities. We're going to have online small groups and podcasts and things like that. And we're going to be reaching out to as many people as we can. So it's really about, you know, choosing to participate in that because, you know, we may not be meeting in person, but we've still got this community. So, you know, you have to, you know, actually be the one to click the link though to join the meetings and to see the live streams and stuff like that. Like we can't go over there and click it for you like we could, you know, drag you to someplace before. So
nicely drag you to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it also helps to have like an accountability partner buddy, especially, I mean, even with stuff being virtual, like if you have a friend that's at a school like 3 states away or something, like they can push you to do this stuff as well, like texting them. And then once you meet people here, you can have people accountability with them too, just to give you that push you need.
Yeah, like Savannah mentioned, we're gonna try to have like as many of our normal activities that we had before, but just switched online. And in particular, I'm going to plug small group because I'm a small group leader. And small group is amazing and you should all do it. But it just, and like Grace mentioned, the accountability of going every week to a small group and talking with people and getting to know them personally. And like you mentioned earlier, Savannah, like before I came to college, like the Bible is just like the Bible. And it's like you read it and those were the words on the page and that was it. But small groups really opened my eyes to everyone has a different interpretation of what they read in the Bible and they get different things out of it. And that personally helped me grow in my faith life a lot because I just learned so much more about the Bible from that. And it's great because it doesn't function any differently virtually than it does in person. There's like no difference except like some, you know, laggy frames and things like that, but it more so than any of the other activities, like small group will be very much the same as it always has been. So it's a good way to.
Yeah. And since we're online, we don't have to worry about going to anyone's like house or apartment or meeting in person. So I can be in Hunter's small group even if he's at Hendrix, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something that I heard the priest from Duke Catholic, I grew up in North Carolina, so I keep an eye on what happens there. He posted this really cute video where he is like puttering around the rectory, and he's like, I'm so tired of this. And like he's trying to like get into the grocery store, and like his mask is like he can't get it like over his ear without it going in his eyes, and he's like so tired of this, and like walks through, and like he's trying to connect like a video call, and it's not working. And then it comes to him kind of standing outside in front of the beautiful chapel there. I almost went to school there too, which is also why I love Duke. And he talks about like, you know, it's normal to be like tired of this and want things to go back to normal, but and to be able to practice our faith the way we normally do. And because we're so focused, I forgot exactly how we worded it, but that like, because we're wishing for this thing that can't happen right now, you know, realistically for safety purposes and to keep people healthy and to care for, you know, our brothers and sisters who, you know, have medical conditions or work in hospitals, that we can become less motivated to connect to our faith. And so we drop one thing, or we're like, oh, I can listen to that live stream later, or oh, I don't feel like it, I can catch up with them later, until eventually we look up and we're completely exhausted and we don't understand why. And it's because we haven't done anything with our faith. And I think as a college student, that was very tempting. I know for me, because I worked full time while I was in college. And so there were times where I, you know, said those very same things. Like, well, I want to go to small group, but I'm just tired. I've been working all day and I have a paper. I'll go next week. And then next week rolls around and I have a test. And then the next week rolls around and I have to work double at the hospital. And then I haven't been to small group all semester. Mm-hmm. And you start feeling that because you feel tired and you feel disconnected and you feel lonely and, you know, all of those things that we're all feeling right now. But I think making the decision, as Savannah said, to choose one thing that we're going to do. Usually, you know, CCM has this plethora of things and you can do as much or as little as you want, but there's something for everybody and we do. And you notice I'm talking faster because like we have stuff all the time. But I think particularly going forward into this year is picking one or two things that are really going to kind of keep us connected to community and root us into our faith that we can commit to. That doesn't mean we can't try every once in a while to do the other things. That we are going to set an appointment and we're not going to miss it. And it's just as important as a class or, you know, a job or family commitment. And so that can be that source of consistency and something we know and can trust that's going to happen. Because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of things I was looking forward to this year over the summer got canceled. We found out earlier this week our entire season for the sport that I play is canceled. So, and so those were things that like I kind of built into my life as like things to look forward to and things to get excited about. And so instead of being, you know, it's okay to be bummed about that, but now I get the exciting and fun part of finding what's the next thing I can look forward to. And for me, even as a campus minister, it's finding a small group for myself to be a part of and finding ways for me as an individual to kind of express my faith and be with people while also like, you know, connecting to my job. And so I think for each freshman or sophomore or senior is finding those one or two things that are going to be that foundation through whatever happens. Because we don't really know, but that's okay. because we know there's going to be small group, and we know there's going to be hangouts, and we know there's going to be masks, and we know there's going to be people who want to hang out 6 feet apart with masks outside. So, yeah.
That's a great mentality to have. Like, I know I've been caught a lot of times in that struggle of like thinking so negatively about all the things that I'm missing out on or all the things that I can't do anymore. But that's a wonderful mentality of looking for the next thing to be excited about.
And I totally didn't make that up. My mentor suggested that for me. Because even campus ministers need people to be accountable to and for encouragement. And so everything, all the advice I give to you guys is because people have given that advice to me. And I've either done it and been like, woohoo, or I didn't do it. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. And you guys know any advice I give to you guys is usually because I did something wrong. And I don't want you guys to do the embarrassing thing that I did. So with everything, because I know UCA is hybrid and Hendrix has chosen to go virtual to start, what are some things that you guys are getting interested in or excited about or playing around with the idea of doing, either in your personal ministry as, just a Catholic in the world, or as a part of CCM?
Well, my original plan was to just take this last semester of college and do a few things on the side, but not get really into anything. But now that we're doing virtual, I'm looking into leading a small group again. And that wasn't the original plan, but I'm really excited about it because that's always one of the best parts of my semester. Like for the last 2 years that I've been doing it, or year and a half that I did it. That's always something that I look forward to because it's so great to have just a community of people that, they're kind of like your group, and you're like, you feel responsible for them, and you also feel like they're, you get to build this friendship with all of them, and you get to like have that accountability of, people are looking to me to be their not leader, but to, well, I guess small group leader technically. So, that accountability is something that helps me in my faith a lot because I'm not great at doing things on my own, but as soon as someone else is looking to me for accountability, I am 110% better than I was. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the same thing for me, being a small group leader again is something I'm looking forward to. Originally, I was hoping that it would be in person again, since I had to switch online at the end of last semester. I was looking forward to having it in person again, but like I said earlier, it's really no different at all online than it is in person. So yeah, I'm basically just gonna repeat everything that Savannah said. They are like, the group is like your group of people, and you got to watch out for them, and you just you hopefully like help them or guide them towards like new information or a deeper faith and things like that. But it's just incredible how much that experience is reciprocated and how much they help you do the same thing. So definitely I'm looking forward to doing that, especially since I won't be on campus at all, and I won't have that personal connection like that, and I probably will be living in Little Rock for the semester, so I will be physically distant from campus as well. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And definitely, just to hit a extra point on what Hunter said, small group leaders don't necessarily have to have all the answers. Hunter was in my small group that I led over the summer, and I don't know everything, but I learned just as much from Hunter and Elena, who were in my small group, as I hope they learned from me. Our wrestling with John the Baptist throughout the entire time. I will never forget, as Hunter's shaking his head and laughing. Hilarity has ensued on discussing John the Baptist. So yeah, I think I'm excited about all the creative ideas that people have had. I have not actually come up with hardly anything. I put a survey out at the beginning of all this and said, hey, how can we care for you guys? And you guys gave me a bunch of ideas, and we have done them. And a lot of the ideas that we're having for the fall are things that students have come up with. So I'm always super excited to kind of see the creativity that you guys are able to come up with to meet whatever idea, vision that Deacon and I kind of throw out there. But personally, one of the two things I'm most excited about is the possibility of a podcast, and then some of the my brain literally lost the word for that. Not pre-recorded, but like intentional video creation content stuff. Because I always like to nerd out about all the tech and behind the scenes stuff. And so, I can, but that also allows me to put you guys front and center, and let your passions and your interests kind of shine. And so I'm excited about that, because usually we're so busy making food and setting up tables and chairs and that sort of thing, which is great and we love doing. But I think we get to kind of stretch ourselves in a new way with kind of the new situation this fall. So I'm looking forward to that. What about you, Grace?
I'm just, this whole experience of this past summer and before that even, I think I've been doing everything one day at a time, basically, because I was I don't know what the future holds. And I just kind of had to give that up to God, honestly, and work on trusting in him a lot. But I think just seeing what he brings through this semester, and especially for this upcoming semester, I felt called to be on liturgy team more, especially because when I couldn't go to mass, my heart was broken for a long time. And I was like, oh man. And when I finally got back there, it just felt like home to me, especially at my home parish. And so I feel like coming back up, because mass is always one consistent thing, even if it's online, that we'll still have. And so I think seeing what'll happen through that, and just honestly, whatever God does, I'm excited for. So we'll see.
So kind of as we kind of go into the home stretch, what are some tips and tricks and reminders that you would give to incoming freshmen to help them kind of survive their first semester, whether it is academically or life on campus or faith or the weird stuff right now, because you guys kind of experience a little bit of college with it being online, so you guys are old pros at this. So any kind of tips and tricks for making this semester successful?
One thing I did, especially when we went online, was I have a planner that I rarely use, but I actually decided to use it then, and to write down each class what I had, and to keep myself accountable with that. And then also I just made to-do lists. I love sticky notes, and so I make to-do lists all the time. And I started to put very simple things on it, like drink water, step outside, and breathe for a little bit, just to give me something to know I'm going in the right direction, and every little step is something, and not to freak out. And to, especially a lot of my professors were very open and helpful with anything I needed help on, especially online, because I'm not very tech savvy. And so I guess just being open with professors and then staying organized is always a good skill.
Mine's kind of just like a life tip, like live in the moment and not worry about what's happening in the future. Like, I know to some extent you have to be, vigilant of what's about to happen and what tests you've got coming up or what, assignments you have, but don't spend so much time worrying about what you have planned in the future or even in the far future, like after college, that you are missing what's happening around you. Because that's like, if you're so focused on like, okay, now I've got to think about what I'm going to be doing in 10 years, then you're not going to, respond to the text of someone asking you to come hang out for a bit, and you miss some of the best moments of college.
For me, my advice would probably be to don't let yourself get totally bogged down by assignments and exams and papers and things like that, and don't let your hobbies and your passions get pushed to the side. Especially going online, like you have a little bit more flexibility. Well, depending on what your hobbies are, I suppose you have a little bit more flexibility with hobbies, like because you're not like going to be required to like there. You won't have so many like on-campus responsibilities and things like that, because a lot of those things sadly won't be there available for you. So, like, take advantage of the awkward situation and give yourself more time for the fun things in life. And like, obviously, yes, school is still important, and don't like play Xbox all day or something like that. But like, do still do those things sometimes, because it's a good stress reliever, and college is about having fun just as much as it is about getting an education. So that would be my advice.
Yeah. One of I'm a little farther removed from college, but I think one of the best pieces of advice a professor ever gave me, because I literally ran into their class in scrubs, sweating, about to cry because I was so overwhelmed with everything, and we had a test that I didn't know about. He came over and he kind of took my hands and put them on the desk and was like, "You're okay. You don't have to be perfect." He's like, "It's about balance." He's like, "If you get a C on this test, you're still going to get an A in my class." He's like, "Calm down, take a breath." And he ended up being a really good friend of mine. And so I think figuring out how, so to stay up till 3 a.m. working on a homework assignment that is 0.4% of your grade, but you're going to be exhausted for your test in the morning? Or is it better to maybe not do the perfect work on the worksheet so that you can do awesome on the test? Like, it's about balance, because ultimately that's real life. Like, we're not always going to have enough time to do what we need to do to the best of our ability. And some of us really struggle with perfection. As you guys who watch me do PowerPoint slides and make graphics for CCM know, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I will stay up till 6 a.m. working on something. And there are times when you have to do that. But I think knowing when to pick your battles, so that you can be the best person you can be in whatever situation you're in. If you're too exhausted or too overwhelmed, you're not going to retain the information, and you're not going to be happy, and you're going to wear yourself out. So that advice number one. Advice number two, as someone who became Catholic in college, finding and having a little bit of a I don't know who I am situation, finding that thing that is your foundation. There are so many things you can do in college and so many organizations. And I read a comment. I shouldn't have read a comment while I was talking. And there's so many great opportunities that, especially your first year, you feel like you want to say yes to everything. And I think it's more important to find one or two things that are going to be that foundation that you're a part of all 4 years. And then, try a couple different random things every year. And so for me, when I became Catholic, my foundation was CCM. Some of the other things I tried, I was a part of a women in STEM group for a little while. And it was fun. Ultimately, I decided I didn't want to go into STEM, and so I left, which gave me free time, which allowed me to be able to teach the parish priest how to dance in the CCM house with 5 other students, teaching him whatever latest hip hop dance that was popular. Wouldn't have done that because I would have been in that women in STEM group. So whether that, obviously, I'm a little biased, it should be CCM, but whether that is CCM or Greek life or a business mentorship group, whatever it is, finding that thing that is your core and actually putting forth the effort, I think will make college the most memorable it can be, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. So just to share what got me distracted, Bernard Smith, ladies and gentlemen, alumni extraordinaire and teacher, blew up my spot saying that I said don't do your work, and that's not what I said. I said just maybe don't do it obsessively.
And going off your first piece of advice, Casey, I found through personal experience that college professors are so much more chill than I ever thought they could or would be. And I've definitely had to tell professors, I'm sorry, I cannot get this assignment to you in by the due date. And they're like, okay, that's cool, whatever, just turn it in the next day or whatever. And I'm like, really? It's just shocking that because I just had this idea in my head that college professors were super strict, and it was do what they needed you to do, or you got a 0 on the assignment and that's it. But college professors, I mean, I can't speak for all of them, but the ones I've come in contact with are super willing and to work with you on whatever you need help with. And I know definitely if you have any virtual professors this semester, they will be in particular willing to work with you because they understand that you have a weird life going on right now and you're not 100% a full-time student because you've got other responsibilities and things like that if you're living at home. And so don't be afraid to break down and be like, I just can't handle this right now, professor, whoever, because it's something that was hard for me to understand at first. They were college students too at one point, so they know that college can be stressful. So again, just don't be afraid to just talk to your professor. They're there to teach you, but that's not just educationally teach you. They're there to help you be a better person and help you get through this really weird new time in your life, because college is for the most part a very new experience for people. So
yeah, I mean, there were definite times where I handed in the 1-page paper and I was like, prepare to laugh.
Sorry,
it is my worst work ever, but I did it, and they laughed, and they're literally just check and okay, you can have it back. I'm like, you didn't even read it. They're like, you did it. I'm like,
yep.
I stayed up till 4 a.m. for this. And then, you figure out your balance because every professor is different. So definitely get to know your professors, definitely, if possible. Some of them, the class is so big you won't be able to, but when you can do, because they're pretty awesome people. If they're choosing to hang out with college students all day, they have to be pretty chill. So any kind of closing remarks or advice or encouragement you want to give as we wrap up?
Even if we're not like seeing each other in person again in the fall, I'm still really glad to be back this year after being in England last semester. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to hang out with all you guys again, even if it's virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, but we're gonna make it all. We're all gonna make it through, one way or the other. And like Savannah said, I won't probably be physically present, but I will always have my computer on me, and I can, or my phone. So anytime anybody ever needs to talk or vent or anything like that, or maybe some advice on Spanish or chemistry,
Yeah.
help. Hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this year is going to be new to everybody with changes and flexibility everywhere. And so I guess just being open to whatever comes and know that we've got you and God's got you and we'll survive.
So be on the lookout. In the next couple of days, we'll be finalizing what we're doing. We didn't find out from the schools until last week what we were allowed to do. So we will be doing small groups online. We are finishing up discussions with having in-person mass when possible at St. Joe's so that we have space to physically distance so that we could have mass in person. We will be at Conway Days, so definitely come by and find us. We will be in the RSO Day, which is Wednesday. We will have virtual hangouts. We'll have we're working on figuring out how to do our freshman retreat while also maintaining, safety, possible podcasts coming up and video content. And of course, we will have the house open whenever staff is present. You're free to come to the house and talk, obviously with mask and maintaining 6 feet of distance. But you can always come and hang out in my office and talk about random things from video games to Jesus. It's all good. And you can always hang out with other CCMers outside and across campus, again, maintaining distance. And we'll evaluate as it goes. If we can move more in person, we will. If we need to stay where we are, we will. But we will have stuff for you almost every day, regardless. So stay tuned to our social media and our website. If you want to, if you are alumni watching this, it's a shot in the dark if they're still watching. You can update your information on our website, and there is a really cool photo gallery for you alumni to check out. So it's conwaycatholic.com. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple of days. Bye.